come to my attention that people now realize my reflection videos, as we've always been knowing. There's been a few problems that have been going on with me, but it's not personally, and that's been going on with other local people nearby. So everybody knows that I love to do these videos. It's been established as a baseline for about 4 months at this point, for a very long time. So no one should be surprised, except for new people, of course. And today I got sent to the dean's office because like 5 people, I believe, reported me, and I was apparently revealing names and revealing some conversations that they didn't realize would be talked about later on, and that is valid. No drama stuff. It's just like a mini issue of this, and I realized is that the problem itself was raised about these videos. Even though I was on edge, I did realize a big thing that I now know about these unsaid social rules within this school that again support like social plate tectonics, my hypothesis of it. But let's jump out of that first. I was like, oh, simple cause and effect. I named some people, maybe I talked about some conversations, but then they reported me and didn't want to be named, right? Simple stuff. But to that extent, that is my mistake. I know I should have at least let others know that maybe I would mention their name or a tidbit of their conversation. And it's my fault that I do take responsibility for. In future videos, I'm obviously going to make sure that this is corrected for privacy reasons going forward for me and other people. And to the people that did report me, you guys are valid contextually for doing so, out of respect for your own privacy. But I believe that we could have taken care of this in informal situations before we escalated to the D. As I say, my DMs are always open all the time. You can contact me at like 3 a.m. or 12 a.m. I might not respond, but I'll eventually respond. And they're open anytime. We could have dealt with this before this actually went down to the D. I'm not aggressive, and I seek no vengeance from anyone that's watching right now, even the ones that I have talked about me before. No vengeance at all. But your guys' feelings are valid, but I believe that we could have informally taken care of this before we actually got sent to the dean as a result. And as much as I said is that I'm a video editor. As much as I edit, I can unedit too. So then re-release the videos with names blurred, or maybe just names that just end up being cut out. I can do that. In my opinion, contextually, I get why you guys did report me to the dean, but I argue is that the dean is meant for objective punishments like suspension or threatened attacks or bad grades. And not just because some names were named, because there's nothing that is objectively punishable, technically. Although I do understand why. And I am not painting anyone in malice intention, but I do get why I was reported to the dean as a result. I now reason because, plugging this into a little bit of a metaphor, with my understanding about game modding mechanics, I do play GTA 5 LSPDFR, and I do make videos about it. But I realized is that a little metaphor that I had is that as I was installing mod add-ons for that game, let's say one time before I add an XML file that changed how cars works. If everything else is updated for that, if I've updated my mod that can update for that, then it goes genuinely well. It should work fine. The thing is that when we use an unupdated version of the modded game, oh my god, my feet are like hurting right now. When we use an unupdated version of the modded game, then once we add the add-on, now the game crashes. Now there's problems. And essentially, I've been using an add-on to a group that has not yet updated to it. That's why it crashed my social position just today. That's why we're given silence this morning. And it's for better or worse, it's just intellectually incompatible. The add-on is intellectually incompatible when translating it into real life. No one's higher than the other, no one's any lower since this is high school. Just different versions of different systems. One can tolerate my add-on of daily reflection, some others aren't, and that's okay. And it connects now because my reflection videos are neutral add-on that does build every day. But because of the nature of reflection, I act like a mirror, a bright vest. Not many people are ready to be realized with it or ready to be named with it. Now, that's where the problems occur. That's exactly why I've now faced problems in my modded game, because when you don't update a mod to a local add-on, there's a problem. When you don't tell local friend groups about what could be happening, even if nothing could objectively happen at all, that's why our social position crashed. That's why we got sent to the dean during third period. Like, oh, I get it now. And yes, my do reflections work with others because they care less about being named or keeping social positions. But with new people, it introduces those stakes. So as a result, I'm going to be releasing the Reflection Transparency Act that will be sent to absolutely everyone. Whether it be the dean watching, my mom watching, or maybe some random kid online who's watching. The Reflection Transparency Act that offers a very simple solution in heavy jargon. If someone does not want to be mentioned, I'll ask them first. Or maybe re-edit a video and blur their name away if it does end up happening anyway. And eventually, I'll make that signed. And as I do sign this right here, I'm going to do all the basic jargon like yes. I'm going to put all this stuff here. And this is it right here. You guys might not see that as well, but I'm going to make sure. I'm going to go ahead and read this out loud. And again, no aggression toward the people who reported me. You guys are contextually valid for reporting me, although we could have dealt with this informally before. Now, March 3rd, 2026. We're going to finalize this right now around 9:21 p.m., I guess. Per our daily reflection videos, I'm probably going to take a tangent to read. It has come to my attention that I have been called to the dean's office today because I've named a few names and conversations that others may have not known. As a result, moving forward, as Brian3722, gamer, I agree to talk to others in respect to their privacy. Giving nicknames or omitting names in future videos, and especially with videos that have a lot of tangents with them, and we'll also be working in tangents with our attending school per enlightenment self-governance concepts. We will also agree to constrain ourselves and modify how our reflection videos are done. However, they will continue. Reflection videos will continue every day. In recognition of these invisible social boundaries, we won't ask every single one in detail about our videos, but rather KISS, a keep it simple, stupid message, and mention if they want to be mentioned, then they're going to be mentioned. If they're not going to be mentioned, then they're not going to be mentioned. And as those results, I'm going to agree to this and sign this right here. And it's very much symbolical. There is technically nothing that could bind it, but I am making this in agreement. Put my name right here. Right here. It will be codified today. at around 9:22. Just make sure y'all this is just passed right now. I know the camera is low-key kind of bad. It doesn't really work that well. And as I said to local groups nearby, I am not any more different than you guys. I'm essentially a boy in high school with a giant microphone as a result of my own editing skills. I'm still as human just as you are, and I see why many of you guys would think that way of reporting me, and I get why. And I know some might stare or begrudgingly look at me as a result of why I've been called to the dean's office at all. But I assure you, if anyone has doubts about me, I know even toward the link through committee where I even applied, you guys, I might look bad here, and I admit that. But if anyone does have doubts about me, feel free to DM me, or most importantly, look at my track record that's been going on before. Look at in my personal channel that I might put down here later on. If there are any doubts about me, this is who I am. If there's anything that's going on, please DM me so we can clear out any problems. I may be foolish, but I want to start my own steps. I'm just making that clear to everyone here. And as for this one too, I do gotta make sure one more thing. As a result, because we were reported instead of other solutions that were done before, we're also going to be signing our Declaration of Social Neutrality. This one's also effective on March 3rd, 2026, which will be enforced for a mourning period. So, as a response to the Reflection Transparency Act and the Dean's visit, I am announcing formal desorption, which is the opposite of absorption, from a local group that has reported me as a result. Although it was reasonable for them to report us to the Dean, and I'd even see why, because of our videos, and may have had their own fears as a result, everybody deserves their own privacy, it remains contextually correct, but somewhat questionable, as it could have been solved in person or text or before formal escalation ensued. And in respect to their privacy and our own, we will be symbolically declaring complete desorption from their local groups and declaring social neutrality, keeping away, to omit certain topics and to omit certain names, especially following under our Treaty of Boy and Girl Code that we codified about 4 months ago in December, covering Article 3. I will link that later on. And of that treaty, and as a result, this will be enforced effective immediately for me around 9:25 p.m. just right now. I'll go ahead and sign this and codify this. There's a student. Oh my god, just signed it right here. I guess the oddest thing is what made me stand out is what made me temporarily alone for now. Although the group does remain valid for reporting me, and I still say it still sets an important example to authority. And that's perfectly great. What I raise is that if every problem like mine is immediately just sent to the dean without taking pre-escalation steps before, that sets a bad precedent, although it's unlikely because if we report every small problem to the dean instead, and I believe that taking care of things beforehand is better than escalating things onto the big hand, to keep it simple there. As for neutrality and privacy concerns, I will also distance myself from the group. I am back now on the same course with an interspace between friend groups, so I mean I'm going to be out to find yet another friend group for the morning. And I still find it quite odd though because the very videos I do reflect about when talking about school sociality and talking about the very things that I talk about every day, which is kind of repetitive, the very things that I talk about is also what end up making me stand out. As for me, will I stop doing these videos? Oh no. I will not censor myself 100% just because some people still feel uncomfortable. What I do is that I'd censor their name, their details, and the conversation details and move on with the day. If anyone's not comfortable, just DM me and I am more than happy to unedit, as I say. And I think I keep saying this again. As I said to the people who did report me, I am still open toward diplomatic talks. We can still negotiate. I keep these videos public to show transparency. I am not here to attack anyone, and I am still more than welcome to edit out a name in a given video. Just give me the video examples and I'll censor away the names. Under the test of neutrality, I will also distance myself and walk away from the local friend group for now, at least in the morning, because of what's been going on. And why do I declare neutrality in big words? Because even if my value is realized, or someone digs through my YouTube video or channel history, I'm always gonna have some sort of nickname like the kid who documents or the kid who does this or that, or something that they're gonna come up with. And that's gonna force people to be careful around me, which means I'm going to have to be constantly defending myself near such groups. So that's why I'd sense such a thing that could happen, and that's what also stalls growth at the same time. Back in my old gaming videos of Detroit Become Human, although I do admit I edited them pretty badly, I did learn that in Connor's eyes, the minute you get labeled with something, such as lazy android, or that all androids are bad within the Detroit Become Human universe, anything good that you do, even something good that you might do, will be read through that bias. And that same thing theory could also apply here, recorded boy, or even think of the old weather boy meme. And in that game, in the androids, they're still fictional, obviously, but in that fictional story, anything good they did, they'd still be stared at by society because of society's prevailing narrative of them that androids are bad, that they're stealing jobs. It's not inherently extreme, but it's misunderstood, is what I'd say it to be. To keep it simple, is that I would also understand why not many people are even ready to publicly be named or be mentioned, and I know a lot of people like to keep their own growth identity private, and I like to externalize mine because I want to learn more about me and others, but I understand why others would prefer alternatives instead, such as privacy, because at that point, that doesn't become hate or love. That just becomes a difference of different operating systems. That's where it gets messy because I'd see why I get caught to the dean as a result, and I understand the aspect behind it. Because someone who loves to make daily reflection videos, someone like me who does this type of stuff, reflect daily, see what mistakes we made during the day, when we encounter someone who does not want to be named, when you encounter someone that doesn't want to be named or like to keep their stuff private, that's where the physical stuff begins to clash, not just social stuff. That's where it begins to clash right here. So that's why for these results, And obviously, the ones that still report me for like the 400th time this time that I'm saying it, I'm still free to talk. As I said, DM me anytime if you guys want to get your names censored away or maybe get something going on. For future videos, I'll make sure that certain names are not said. So as I said, talks are still open. I'm not here to attack anyone. I don't have any vengeance against anyone. So I'm just making that clear to a lot of people. And as to the dean, and as the lead crew committee, and as to everyone else around the world, yes, this was an overstep by me. So I do admit missing a few things when I did make my reflection video. So I take responsibility on that point.